Hello and welcome to the first video on my channel. My goal on this channel is to have a deep look into the stages of virtual races and give predictions on what I view as reasonable strategies for most of the teams on this stage. Afterwards, at the end of the video, I try to give my prediction on how the race will really finish. Strategies in stage races depend heavily on what happened on the stage before, and Santos Tour Down Under is not in my time zone. I choose for the start only to give a preview and no detailed view for every single stage. Let's first look into the history of the race. After 2 years without a race on a virtual level due to COVID restrictions, the Santos Tour Down Under is back. For the last 10 to 50 years, the Tour Down Under established itself as the first race of the season, mostly due to a change from a race for pure sprinter to a more selective course. The recipe of the last iterations were 3 to 4 sprint stages, some on an uphill sprint, some on a flat sprint, and 2 decisive stages. The first decisive stage always changed. The second one was the famous mountaintop finish on Willunga Hill. This course led in most years to very close races in the GC. In the end, mostly Australian riders dominated the race. In the last 10 years, Richie Porte, Simon Gerrans and Rohan Dennis all won the race. Also to mention in the winning category is Daryl Impey. He won the race twice in his time. With him on the start list, this being his last season and no competition from Richie Porte, the king of Willunga Hill, he will probably be the favorite to win again. With this, let's look into the 2023 edition. In the last 2 years, the recipe of the race changed a bit. There is for the first time a prologue. With Australia being historically good in individual team pursuit on the track, this will likely not change the Australian dominance in this race. With 5.5 kilometers distance, no real elevation on the course, and on my count, 10 corners, my prediction for the time gaps between GC riders will only be 20 seconds maximum. So no one will lose the GC in this stage. Stage 1 takes place on a circuit with a 4th category climb. From the top of the climb, there are 15 kilometers to the finish line. The climb itself is 4.5 kilometers long, but only 3.7% average gradient. If no team has a goal to make the race hard in the early rounds, there will be a mass sprint. With this being the first real road stage in the year, I don't think there will any team who will make the race hard. The profile of the second stage looks a lot more interesting. It has 2 categorized climbs, one of the first category and one of the second category. The Cat 1 climb is 22 kilometers before the finishing line. It's 2 kilometers long with 7.8% average gradient, and on the GC is a lot bigger. In the past years, the stage was won from a sprint out of a smaller group with maximum 20 riders. So after the prologue, this is the second stage with an impact on the GC. Stage 4 is a big surprise for everyone. It finishes in Willunga, but not on Willunga Hill. The stage will finish slightly uphill, but the stage is probably the easiest of all, with the final climb only being 1 kilometer with 3% gradient. With a stage this easy, this will end in a bunch sprint. The last stage will be the hardest one. It is only 110 kilometers long and will take place on a circuit. With a climb onto the circuit and 4 laps, this results to 2,700 height meters. The climb to the finish is according to the roadbook only 1.3 kilometers, but has 7.3% average gradient. According to Strava, it looks a bit longer. This stage looks like a good replacement for the Willunga stage. With the final climb being a bit easier than the Willunga stage, I think here we won't see a solo win. It will be a sprint out of around 5 riders. After we looked at the stages for a bit, let's look at the start list. The first team on the list is Team Jaco Alaula, aka Back Exchange, aka Mitchell Scott, aka Orakia. As an Australian team, they fielded the best team possible with Michael Matthews and Adam Yates. Both are sufficient good at the time trial to not lose the race in the prologue. Matthews should in normal form be strong enough to not get dropped on the early stages and can make up time with bonus seconds. Yates can step in if the final stage is too hard for Matthews. The next team is Argy Dessert. Well, they have Ben O'Connor as an Australian. At least he will be motivated. The rest of the team looks like fillers. The next team on the list then is Astana. There was a time this was a good team for this kind of race, with Luis Leon Sanchez and Moscon. Luis Leos had the top 10 results in the Tour Down Under before, and Moscon would have been 2 years ago a favorite for this race. After Astana last season, I don't see them doing much. So let's go over to Bahrain Victorious. With Pello Bilbao in shape, this looks like a good team. On the hilly stages, he was in the last year always on a good level. His time trial is also quite good compared to most climbers. For podium spots, the climb are probably too short for him. For the first sprint stages, they also brought Phil Bauhaus. Then we have track as next ones on the start list. While the start list say they are here, I don't think after the race we remember them a lot. Then we have Cofidis on the list. We have here a quite good team for stage hunting. Coca in peak form can even compete in the final stage for the win. If his form has not reached the peak yet, they brought Nafei for the harder stages. Let's go over to the Dark Quickstep, or as everyone else knows them, the Koenig Quickstep. They brought a classic Quickstep lineup, with quite a few riders on a similar level. Cataneo, Devenice and Schmidt are all able to somehow sneak a top 10 in a GC in good form. The best shot might be Schmidt here with a decent time trial. To add further confusion, we go over to the Koenig Alpecin, or as last year known as Alpecin Phoenix. There are two possibilities for the team. They either bring Stannard in last year's Volney form, then he will be the one to beat. He can ride up hills, he can sprint, and he's also Australian. So he has everything you need to win here. On a 5 km time trial, he won't lose too much time. If he's in a normal form, they have to rely on Caden Grooves for the classic sprint stages. Next team on the start list is Groupama FDJ. There are Mollin, Scottson, and a lot of U23 riders. The U23 riders might be a gamble, but with the race being that early in the season, and they are highly motivated neo-pros, so it might be the right choice. The general short stages, at least, are in their favor. Next on the list is Ineos. There's Hater, who already won the GC in Poland last year. Sheffield also showed his class on hilly terrain last year, and there is Blab, freshly crowned national champ on the road for the second time in a row. And all of them could be in contention for the win. My guess will be Blab, as he is an Australian. Next on the list, another complicated team name, Intermarché Circus Vanti. Dion Smith is nearly Australian, so maybe he gets the buff to be competitive for top 10. Furthermore, there are with Dylan Page and Gerben Tyson, two second to third tier sprinters. And there is Taco, who can every day decide today is his day and might win a stage. My prediction for the Taco stage is stage 2. So let's go over to Jumbo Visma. With Rowan Dennis, he brought a former winner. And do you remember the bit about track riders? Well, he was one of them. His way to win will be to manage his lead from the prologue. Oh, we have Movistar here. Another team on the start line. Gorka Isakire was once a rider for such a race, but this was a few years ago. Let's look at Team DSM. Do you remember the 2019 edition? Until the last two stages, Patrick Barron was in the lead and looked like the winner of the Tour Down Under. Then he crashed on the second to last stage and lost his lead on the final stage. Maybe he can get revenge this year. With Chris Hamilton, he has for DSM standards quite a good support. Team UAE, or Pogacar's team. Did you see that Jay Wine is Australian time trial champ? Based on my argumentation so far, he should be the clear favorite. In reality, these stages are too easy to play out his climbing abilities, so Hirschi or Covey should be better shots at a good placement for stage wins. Team Arkea Samsic. Well, Hugo Hofstadter was last year a good guess for top 5 or top 5 placements. On the other side, Eddie Gisbert often has a good early season showing, so a possible top 10 contender. Let's look at EF Education Easy Post. Depending on form, another rider to watch is Alberto Pediol. He can TT, he nearly won a stage in a mass sprint last year, and on a hilly terrain, he won't get dropped. Next one, Bora Hansgrohe. The sprint captain should be clear, there is Jody Meuse. The team lead for the overall is a bit more unclear. There's Jay Hindley, Giro winner and Australian, but the hilly stages are probably too easy for him to make a difference. If Max Schachmann found his 2019 or 2020 form, the terrain should suit him a lot more. Fitting at the end of the list is Israel Premutek. Daryl Impey is in his last season and he won the race twice. But it's probably not the captain. There's Chris Froome on the start list. 5-time Tour de France winner, blah blah blah. Oh, this was a long time ago. Probably better shots are Simon Clarke or Corbin Strong. Simon Clarke looked good at the Australian Championships, but now he has the corona infection. Maybe Corbin Strong can do something here. Last but not least, we have the Australian national team. There's Caleb Ewan and young Australian riders with no big results yet. Caleb Ewan always wins a stage in Down Under. And all other ones are here for the fight for the mountain jersey. So finally, we have all the teams behind us. Now let's go to the stages. For the prologue, I already teased there will be no big time differences. So my top three here are Rowan Dennis, Luke Plapp, like 1 second behind, and third, Alberto Bettiol, maybe a bit more behind, so like 3 seconds. Stage 1 I predicted as the clear mass sprint. Here the big favorite is Caleb Ewan, even without a big lead-out train. I think close second will be Caden Groves, and then third, Jody Mills. For stage 2, my guess is a reduced bunch sprint. Here I see Michael Matthews as the favorite, as Simon Clark had a COVID infection. And third, I see Robert Stannard here. For stage 3, I have Robert Stannard for Michael Matthews, and third, Alberto Bettiol. If you remember, stage 4 was an uphill mass sprint. There's only one rider who can win. It was always Caleb Ewan. Second will be Brian Coquin, and then I think Michael Matthews can sneak in the third. So finally, stage 5. Who will win it? I think Mark Hirschi will do it before Yates, and third will be Bilbao. I don't see big gaps on the last stage to change the GC as Mark Hirschi winning. So how will look my final GC? Let's go over to it. Well, on place 10, we have Elie Gisbert. On place 9, I see even after his good showing on the last stage, Pello Bilbao. But all the other riders will sneak him with time bonuses. On place 8, I see Patrick Bevan. So he won't get his revenge this year. Maybe he finds another year. On place 7, there's Robert Stannard. So he is not totally in Wallonie form, but also not totally out of shape in my prediction. Well, on place 6, I had him on place 1 before his corona infection, Simon Clark. I think he is in good shape, but his infection probably cost him a bit here. After his win on the final stage, he will climb on place 5. It's Mark Hirschi. Place 4, or best non-Australian rider, I see Alberto Bettiol here. I think he missed just a bit on every single stage to win in the end. On place 3, I see probably a quite similar rider to on place 2, but on place 3 I have Luke Plapp. I think he gets a lead in the time trial and then loses slowly on his gap. So as mentioned before, place 2 is quite a similar rider to the Luke Plapp, so it's Rowan Dennis. I already had him for him in the prologue, but why are they losing slowly to the one on place 1? Well, the rider on place 1 is Michael Matthews, and he will get into the lead just by bonus seconds. Well, I hope you had some fun in this video, and let's see again to the Kettle Emeralds Road Race.